Yeah. Would you not just step out of the way here then?
These are my colleagues, Anna and Carrie. The Summer Heritage. We do have one brochure. They haven't given us brochures yet, but if you want to take a photograph of the operator, but it's always on the website. So essentially, this is the inside of the Murtala Tower, and they were all very standard. First of all, just to give you a bit of background, the name comes from, and again there's another Napoleon connection, the name comes from Cap Mortella in Corsica, which is where Napoleon was born. And back in the late 1700s, the British were trying to invade. It was held by the French, and there was a tower on Corsica, and the soldiers in that tower actually held a number of British war ships at bay for longer than was expected. When the British finally got in, they found there were just 33 soldiers inside the tower. So they were really impressed with this. So what they did was they made plans of the tower, and then they destroyed it so it couldn't be used against them again. And then they promptly used those designs, and they built a load of towers over the south of England, and they planned 28 towers for the whole shore of Dublin Bay, from Bray right around to Balbriggan. So that's what they did. They started building those towers because it was a common plan. And because they were absolutely determined and terrified of Napoleon, they were really quick to build them. So they were all built in 18 months. Imagine nowadays if you had a political will. Dublin was the second city in the British Empire, so they were determined. Absolutely, and no choice. They didn't even inquire as to the ownership of land. They just built them where they wanted to build them, and then they fixed that up afterwards with landlords, depending on how powerful they were. So this gives you they always built them as well with the local stone. So they actually found a local quarry here in Sandy Cove, and this is built from granite. Most of them on the south side are granite because there were lots of little quarries. They found a quarry in Black Rock, near where Black Rock Park is. That was used for the one at Williamstown, Booterstown. That one there you see from the Dart. But on the north side of the city, they don't have granite, so most of them on the north side, this is the one in Rush, they're local brick, and then they're just rendered. So while they're the same structure essentially, they actually look different. I agree with you.
They probably have pirate.
But there's a couple of very sensible features again, especially on the south side. Every Martello tower could see both of its neighbours, so they could signal to one another, and they each had a cannon, at least one cannon on the roof. A few bigger towers like Booterstown could fit 2 cannons on the roof, but the range of a cannon was a mile out to sea. But see the way all the lines of fire overlapped? So they were very clever ideas, but they didn't waste any time then on nice things, like they didn't name the towers, right? They just numbered them. So, functional. So 1 to 16 on the south side, and number 1 was way down in Bray. When I say way down, right down where at Bray Head, that end of the seafront, if you know Bray. Do you know the boathouse and the coffee dock in Bray? They were built from the stones of number 1 Martello Tower. Because it was right on the seashore, so it was undermined fairly quickly. That happened to a few of them. There's one at White's Rock as well, there between Bray and Shankill, and the same thing happened to that. Number 2 Martello Tower is still a private house in Bray, and again, if you know Bray, you'll know it up above the Harbour Bar, and the one that Bonner used to live in. And some of them are private homes today as well. So we're number 14 here, so we go all the way around to 14. So there was one man from Scotland, and he was given the job of, his name was just O'Murray, that's it, John Murray. He was an architect for 4 of the Martello Towers. So he had 180 men working for him here for 18 months, and they built the towers. So very impressive. Just to give you an idea, you can see that the walls are 12 foot thick, right? There were shutters here. There's probably rubble in the middle now. So 12 foot, and you can see they're much smaller on the outside than on the inside to give you the maximum light for the minimum, because you were a target, the windows were a target, because the ships were out at sea, of course, the firing would be coming that way, so you didn't want to be an easy target. And then they had shutters. These are probably these are the basements for the old shutters. Fireplace here, and you had up to 16 men sleeping here, 16 soldiers at one time. This was an open plan room. There was a trapdoor there, so they left that clear there so you can see. And everything used to come up the ladder, right, and in here, and then be handballs down there, and there's a storage room down there. And you can see they have a hook up there for bringing it. They also built towers on the Shannon, for example. You see them up the River Shannon. They also built 81 signal towers all around the coast. They were different to the Martello towers. They look like old Norman tower houses. And they built a load of them around the coast.
Any of those still around, or were they?
There is, but they say in place in that outstanding natural beauty, but nothing much else.
Yeah.
So they go from Dublin, and they don't go north. They go down around the Wexford coast and right around to Donegal. Yeah, some of them are about 3 kilometres apart only. Again, it was all about signalling. They didn't have cannons, so they were all near, so they could see. But obviously, being like in Kerry, I think there's ones that are 15 kilometres apart because of the headlands. So they'll be 15 by road, presumably. Whatever the roads will be like. Actually, just before we go down, these are replicas of the implements they used to load the cannon. So everybody had one job, right? It took a minimum of 6 people to load and fire the cannon. There were 2 of these, one wet and one dry. That was to wipe out any residue from the heat. This one's called a worm because that was to take out any of the last canker whatever from the last of the little ashes and bits left over from the previous firing of the cannon. This was the shovel, and what they fired from the cannon was hot shot. And this was used, there's a furnace on the roof, and this was used to shovel, I always say this very carefully, to shovel the hot shot.
Nicely done!
Of course, the ships that didn't come, but the ships that they were preparing to defend themselves against were made of wood, and they had gunpowder on board, so you won't fire something hot.
Hot shot was a cannonball heated in the fire first.
Yeah, and they were small balls. They weren't like big ones. So you can see this would have been a shovelful of a little hot stuff, maximum impact. And then this, they had to use between the gunpowder and the shot. They had to put in rags, stuff in rags and that, and they tamped everything down with this. But these are kind of heavy, like, just to see now. And I mean, the people of the time, the guys of the time, I mean, a lot of soldiers would have been, say, from Mayo and places like that. They would have been about my height, but very, very thin. You know? But still, it was a tough old life now. Working here. So they stayed here for up to 2 months at a time, practicing, and then they went off to war. So we go down the road to the basement, and then we bring you up to the roof. You can photograph to your heart's All the information on the walls, it's taken from this book called The Martello Towers of the Dublin Coastline, and it's definitely in the libraries in Dún Laoghaire, because Dún Laoghaire Rock Town sponsored the book.
Oh, nice one.
It's a wonderful book. So now it's huge and heavy, but it's a lovely one even to go in and read, you know. Now you can feel the change in air. Now we're at sea level here, right? And again you can see we've got the same feature in windows, but we're very far down here. Huge big fire here. This half is the kitchen. Okay, half of downstairs was the kitchen, and they all had essentially the same layout. The sergeant or whoever was in charge was here. He had his own room. He was the only person who had his own room. And then here, believe it or not, was the storeroom, and there were shelves and that there. They stored the gunpowder here. They stored the shunt here. They stored any provisions they needed to here. Again, you can see the holes up there from the wall. The floor was absolutely rotten when Dún Laoghaire Rock Town took it over. So this was decided as the best compromise. The kind of problem is that you can't try and do 2 tours at once. The noise up there is incredible. It bounces around, as you can imagine. So we have some of them here, right? Some of our neighbours. You see this one from the roof. This is Williamstown. You know it from the Dart. You see the way the door is there like that, but there's actually another floor underneath. That was originally the first floor. See, we need to remember that when these were built in 1804, there was no railway. So this was on the shore, see? So there was a huge infill job done then to put the railway, which is why we have problems when the tide comes in. You know, when you've got spring tides and Gloucesterstown is closed, and you say, why? Well, that's why, really. So there is a basement there. This is bigger. It had 2 cannons on the roof. Here we are, and it's typically like this today. Last summer we were saying this is the way it used to be. You know,
back in the day.
Your parents ever tell you summers were always fine, and here we have it. It's brilliant. But anyway, when it was like this in the 50s, It was an ice cream shop upstairs.
No,
And actually somebody came last week with his son and a baby looking for ice cream. And he said, but this used to be a shop. And I said, yeah, that was a long time ago. But so he remembered it. And I had somebody last summer, and his aunt ran the ice cream shop, and his summer job was to help here selling the ice cream. So he was the star attraction that day. So everyone was asking him, did you ever come down to the basement? And he said no. The floor, they were terrified. The floor was rotten, it had holes in it. But the part they loved was when they finished working in the evening, they'd go up on the roof with the kettle and the sandwiches. And it was wonderful. You should see that for yourselves in a few minutes. Well, except minus the kettle and the sandwiches. The next one, number 13, was down kind of near where the Irish Lights building is now. The experts, every time there's new roadworks, they go down and have a look, and now they're deciding it might be a few yards this way or a few yards nearer to us, I think. But anyway, that's the last time they thought about it, they decided it was there. So in or around there. See, some of the Martello towers, they built other batteries beside them that held a lot of stores, and this one didn't have them. So sometimes there's a bit of confusion about where exactly was the actual Martello tower. This was number 12. This was in the People's Park in Glasgow. So there was one there, That didn't last very, very long. And the thing is, we think we invent everything, and every generation thinks the same, but they always recycle. So if they're building something new, there's some thought that actually some of the stones might have been used for the other arm of the harbour. That's built there, then. Yeah, well anyway, but for the railway, whatever. But in 1821 it was there, you can say that. That's when George IV came, I think. Around then. And then this one we all know, the famous one there. And Michael Scott was Joyce's tower, exactly. Michael Scott was the architect who built this house to echo it, and he actually bought the Martello Tower when he bought the land to build that house, and it was £4,700 in 1954 he paid. And the councils at that stage were trying to get rid of these they were just too hard to maintain. So if somebody was building a house and you approached the council, they were very happy. And in some cases, you probably know on the north side particularly, they are still private homes. Right, and on the south side, this one here in Barter Rock, this was a private house as well. And number 7 in Killiney is a private house. This one was up on, and I must look it up again, I looked it up last year, it was up on Daft or one of those. It's for sale a couple of years ago, Cherry Fitzgerald, but just to see what it looked like inside is interesting, There was a man here a few weeks ago, he's a plumber, and he said he worked on one over in Rush, I think, in North County Dublin. He said you can get one, you get through those walls once, so you have to bring everything into the one hole, and it's very difficult to get the smell of damp and that out. We were here in the spring, and literally the plaster was dripping on our heads. It gets so damp, and the rope that you can hold going up the stairs is just saturated in damp. So it seeps, it actually seeps when it rains, So that's the Barter one. And here is Donkey Island. And the one on Donkey is actually unique because it doesn't have a door at all. The way I said the door is away from the sea? But apparently, which I didn't realise, this channel is so deep that ships can actually sail around.
It's really deep.
So the only way in there, you see that photograph? The only way in was a ladder, and you come in, the door, if you like, is on the roof. You came down. That was the way into that one. So that gives you a good idea. So we'll go up to the roof, Now I'm going to go this way. Because these stairs are easier, and then we'll go up the narrow stairs. There's 23 steps. You might like to leave your bags down because it gets very narrow. Okay. And if you leave them there, the other two have to carry it there. Hi. Does Kerry want to come up with me just to she wants to come up with me just to hear what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah. Is that okay? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. The more I hear. Okay. So we okay then? Yeah. 3 steps, okay?
Up we go. No.
Ladies first.
No.
Yep.
No.
Ladies first.
No,
Ladies first.
I'm a guy, so I have to go at the back. Thank you very much.
Just in case I fall like I'm heavyweight.
What?
Just in case I fall like heavyweight. Go on, ladies first. Okay, you win.
Lovely.
There's so many
see our furnace there on the right.
I did.
Lovely. I don't worry about that. I just love. On days like this, I take a photograph and send it to my children and say, "My office today."
Yeah.
Isn't it lovely? So if we stand up here, and it's nice and safe because, or it feels nice and safe because this, by the way, is called the crown of the tower, and you can see why. It's kind of like the shape. Great. Okay, so here we are. You know the equipment that I showed you downstairs, the replica. Yeah. And this is a replica cannon, but it does fire. Okay. So this was put here in 2011, and it was made over in England. So, but a lot of the other stuff then is here since the tower was built in 1804. So, for example, we have these here, these chains, or these links here. That's where the ropes tied on there. So when the cannon fired, right, this would be all greased with fat. So when the cannon fired, obviously it would ricochet like that, but they want to keep it steady so that you wouldn't damage the walls of the cannon either. So the ropes would be tied to the different rings around the wall there. So that's what that's for. And the other thing we need to remember, the political situation at the time. So the country was very volatile, obviously, right? So there was always the danger, if you like. There was always the worry that if the French did actually invade, that they wouldn't be turned away by Latin colonies, right? So I just think it's interesting now, and I'm not saying that this is definitely the reason, but if you see the tracks going around, so this cannon does turn 360 degrees. It does. So certainly if the French landed, that wasn't going to be the end of it. This here, that's just for drainage for the water. We've seen that in action lots and lots of times, so we have. And then over there, that's the first cage, if you like. That's where the furnace you saw. Sorry,
No, you're right. Go on ahead.
The furnace, as you saw, was just as we were coming up the stairs. So they would pull the cannon back here on this, right? Swivel it around here, and that shovel would be used then to fill the mouth of the cannon with the hot shot. And then to get their supplies, the hot shot and the gunpowder and that up, they used the murder hole, as you say, you know, so it had a double use. If you look out there as well, you can see the holes very clearly for firing their rifles and that, and anyone who happens to get near the front door. Because, but as I say, originally taller than that, yeah? Because it's bigger. Behind us, right behind.